Okay, we're back on a topic that I hate and probably a lot of you hate, which is the Jews and identity politics. And I actually was prompted to do this by something I saw on somebody else's Facebook page, um, which I think they're one of the people that they're starting to get the wrong idea about what Judaism is because of, remember, a lot of liberal Jewish groups that claim the Jewish identity and appropriate it for political purposes. And in this case, these are Obamacrat pawns that have taken control of Jewish organizations. So I've said before, and I don't know which video I have it in. You can look through my history. Maybe I'll post it if I can find it. I'm kind of on a rushed schedule lately. I've said that I don't support any Jewish organizations except for my congregation, which happens to be an Orthodox congregation. I believe in, Judaism as a tradition, as a religion, not as some sort of ethnic identity. Even though, according to all standards, I'm a full-fledged Jew, but I don't hold anything from it as like an entitlement for my identity. There's religious issues where we see that the Jews are a nation apart, but that does not mean that we're a nation that can just discount the cultures of other people. It just means that we have a culture apart from others that we do have to recognize. And the point of this video is, if you watched my video yesterday, and I'm not happy that I'm making more videos about this, but I've kind of been looking at the latest trends, and I feel like I have to give my rebuttal to the currents going through these, the media. There is a large contingent of Jews in the media, but those are people that identify culturally and ethnically as Jewish. And yesterday, if you saw my piece about the Gal Gadot controversy, where they're trying to make the case that Jews, even ones that are born in Europe, are people of color, you can see that people have kind of lost their fucking minds. And they're so desperate to fit in with these people that have batshit crazy beliefs, that these Fruit Loops, that they need somehow to crowbar their way into the same category, where you have a world of dual reality, where you're either white or you're a POC. POC is a made-up term. There is no such thing as a POC. I guarantee you that in Japan, they don't give a fuck about being a POC, even though under these communist definitions, a Japanese person is a POC. It's really gone by the wayside. I probably could wager that there's a lot of Japanese Americans that feel that George Takei and his ilk are on the same level as some of the people that I'm about to talk about. And in his case, he actually has sort of a grounds to be disenchanted with America because he was in a Japanese internment camp. But since then, look, we've given him a life in America of fame and power and money. Well, maybe not power, but money. Due to almost no accomplishments, he was on one show in the 60s. That's George Takei. Think about how many losers we have that are basically living off of fake Jewish identity, that they have a cultural identity. Barbara Streisand, and even people I'm a fan of, like Larry David and Jason Alexander and whatever. They can talk all they want about bagels and lox and smearing their brunch and whatever. That was a little out of order, but that's not what being a Jew is about, because obviously a person who's 100% Filipino can walk into a bakery and buy bagels and lox and eat them just as much as Jews can. And in fact, I remember from a few years back, here, let me pull that up before I go into the main topic.
Senator Graham, That is an undecided legal issue, which, I suppose I should ask exactly what you mean by that. I'm assuming that the question you mean is whether a person who was apprehended in the United States is...
No, I just asked you where you're at on Christmas.
You know, like all Jews, I was probably at a Chinese restaurant.
Great answer.
So look, that is a funny joke, and I'll give her credit. I don't know a lot about Elena Kagan. She's probably a very smart woman, even though I don't agree with her legal point of view. But look at it from her, even though it's a good joke, it is a good joke, and I appreciate some of this cultural Jewish humor. It is bullshit that this is a stereotype. She's owning up to a stereotype. You know, like a good Jew, I was probably at a Chinese restaurant. There's a weird thing, and I used to work with a Chinese chef at a restaurant where a lot of these Jewish people, they go out on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, I don't know which one because I've never done it, and they eat Chinese food. And I think it's probably because they can get a good table or whatever, or there's a discount and whatever, and that's owning up to another stereotype, right? But there is nothing intrinsically Jewish about going to a Chinese restaurant. In fact, there's very little intrinsically Chinese about going to a Chinese restaurant since, as you probably know, Chinese restaurants generally don't have an authentic Chinese cuisine. So this is what we're dealing with here. These are people that they love their cultural tropes because it is the only thing that they're holding on to. And if they actually read the Bible and you know, I'm not even talking about following the Bible because, you know, far be it from me to judge somebody else for religious observance. If we were to actually read the Bible and learn about how our ancestors lived over in Egypt and in Babylon and of course in historic Israel, aka the land of Canaan, this is completely unrelated to Chinese restaurants or anything. That is in fact, that's an exclusively American cultural phenomenon where you know, Jews are into Chinese food. In fact, I don't hate Chinese food, but I'm a huge fan of Italian food. Okay, you never hear any stereotype about that. So let's get to our main issue here, somewhat related to yesterday. Okay, so thanks to my friend, I'm gonna call him, you know, let's call him Juan, because I don't like to dox people in my videos, even if they're for good reasons. And this guy seems like a up and up dude. But it says Jewish groups join calls to mayors to denounce anti-Sharia marches from June 9th. That would be 2 days ago. It says an array of liberal Jewish groups have signed on to letters to 29 mayors urging them to denounce planned anti-Sharia marches this weekend, timed during the Islamic month of Ramadan, when Muslims around the world fast during the daylight hours. These protests have been disingenuously branded March Against Sharia and explicitly target Muslims at a time when hatred and bigotry has swept the nation, said the letters, which went out Thursday to the mayors of cities including Atlanta, Boston, Houston, Indianapolis, New York, and Orlando. Sharia refers to Muslim religious law. Among the 129 signatories to the letters, which were organized by a group called Muslim Advocates, are the Union for Reform Judaism, Bend the Arc, the Anti-Defamation League, the National Council of Jewish Women, and Jewish Voice for Peace, as well as the Jewish Council for Public Affairs. So this is already a fruit salad of just Jewish liberal groups, all of these, except I don't know much about the National Council of Jewish Women and the Jewish Council for Public Affairs. They're probably, you know, they are probably basically a small group with a small footprint. There's a couple organizations that are the most important ones. The Anti-Defamation League, which is up here, has always been one of them. And I believe in the future they're going to lose a lot of their following. And I'll explain why throughout this video. And I don't know how long this video is going to go. But the American Jewish Committee is the most important one, I believe, and then there's the Council of Jewish Federations or something. And basically, it's been both a blessing and a curse since the Jews came here throughout the history of this country to have all these groups that are, on the one hand, they're good at philanthropy, they're good at spreading the wealth within the community and promoting educational institutions. On the other hand, at certain points in history, they promote an agenda that is completely unrelated to what being Jewish is about. We have a problem where the Jews, as a whole, we're ashamed of our own cultural and religious heritage, and therefore we seek, you can see me, I'm dressed pretty much as any other person on the street. But if we really were going to go down this road of retarded identity politics, okay, and pay attention, I'll probably put like a jump link to this. Wouldn't it not make more sense to look like one of these? Hold on. I mean, you're talking about being people of color and keeping it real. I mean, that's about as real as it gets, right? I mean, you liberal Jews. I mean, how come you don't look like that? Hold on. You could go for this look. I mean, it's a little expensive. That's fox fur. I think those cost about like $1,200 per, for on the low side. You kind of have to work it around your mortgage and your car payments and all that other garbage that you're paying for. But I mean, if you really want to be committed to your identity, I mean, I see a lot of you people, and by you people, I mean our people. So you can't really, flag me for that. I see a lot of you sporting this look. You got the Jew fro, right? So you got here. I don't even know if some of these might actually be, some of them are Irish, but I mean, look at this. This is Justin Timberlake. I don't think he's Jewish. There's Dustin Diamond, Screech. He is, and you got. I mean, this is. I mean, I have completely straight hair, so I don't really have the problem with this. But this is cultural appropriation, right? Because technically we're supposed to be authentic. We're not allowed to culturally appropriate anymore. So I think like if we were to really be authentic, and by we I mean you, because I don't really care about cultural appropriation because I believe in an individual choice, but you do. So you might want to go back to a little look like this. You got the full getup here. You got the kid in the dress and the wife with the headdress or whatever it is, and I'm not disrespecting them. I'm disrespecting you guys that are against cultural appropriation, because they're not culturally appropriating. They're actually culturally authenticating themselves. And I'm not. So what I'm getting at here is that all of the Jewish liberals are literally living a lie, and they actually I don't know if you've seen these videos by JP Sears, and I'm going to post a link because they're fantastic. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on. He is one of the best comedians out there right now, where he's saying that we're in the era of ultra-spirituality, because spirituality that was discovered, the age of Aquarius of the 70s was only so spiritual. Now you really have to be ultra-spiritual, because the spiritual is relatively mundane and profane. So, what the hell? Let's show a little of it.
You recording? Yes. I'm JP Sears. I'm ultra-spiritual. And I'm going to teach you how to be ultra-spiritual today. First, what you need to understand is being ultra-spiritual has nothing to do with actually being spiritual, because no one even knows what that actually is. Being ultra-spiritual means you look spiritual. So let's get started. Practice competitive spirituality. Silently / passive-aggressively, you're going to want to compare how spiritual other people are to yourself. Judging other people to be less spiritual than you makes you a better person than them. And that's exactly what makes you more spiritual than them. Hey, Kevin. Do you see how unconscious that guy is? Jerk. Claim to be using your intuition.
So, okay, that's a little of what I'm getting at. That you have to be, if you're going to be anti-cultural appropriation, you have to be super cultural authentication. So, you liberal Jews, you can't look like, this guy, the head of the ADL. This is unacceptable. you have to go more for that guy. Because otherwise you're being a complete fraud, and you're actually, you know how there is Uncle Tom's? So you're being, hold on, you're being an Uncle Leo, plain and simple. I mean, you're basically, you're showing on the outside, you're almost like a Jewish Oreo. You're like all bagel on the outside, but what you really are on the inside is a Kit Kat bar. You're generic, you're corporate. So, I mean, you have to change that. You have to, really embrace the non-cultural appropriation side of yourself and go back to something like that. Okay? So let me go back to the anti-Sharia marchers. And this is for normal people now. So I've stopped talking to the Jewish social justice warriors. I think we're POCs, which is a made-up term, and which, if they want to live in their fantasy world and do cosplay as pretending to be people of color so that they can culturally appropriate something that is completely irrelevant to themselves and, in fact, irrelevant to everybody else, I've already given them the tools to do that. In fact, they can probably log on to Pinterest right now and get a few guides for, the side locks and the the round fur hat, the strimal, or whatever they call it. It's called the strimal. And the kapata, the kaftan, which is the nice coat that they have. But we're going to go back to the article for everybody else out there that's normal, whether you're Jewish or not Jewish. This is like what I'm trying to get at. That we have an issue here. Why do Jews feel such a need to defend Sharia law by denouncing anti-Sharia marches? You should know that there are parallels between Islam and Judaism, which are fine. I don't have a problem with Islamic belief in the one God, which is the same belief as me. But what we call it is basically halacha. Halacha just means the ways to go, if you really look at it literally. Or they're basically the laws and guidelines and statutes of how to live your life. There's a big difference, however, between the way that halacha is enforced by Jews as opposed to by Muslims, which is that if you're not Jewish, we really could care less what you do apart from 7 commandments, which are, here, I'll pull them up. Okay, they're over here, and there's expansions of them, but they're really not invasive to the degree that you would think. It says, do not deny God, do not blaspheme God, do not murder, do not engage in illicit sexual relations, do not steal, do not eat from a live animal, and establish courts/legal systems to ensure obedience to said laws. So we believe, and here's the important part, okay? As Jews, it doesn't matter, and I'm not somebody here who I'm trying to define myself as a religious scholar or whatever, but these are really basic issues here for people to know about Judaism. We believe that people should follow these laws. We don't make them follow these laws, and there's never been an attempt, at least to my knowledge, to force the rest of the nations to live by any of these. In fact, we believe that it is up to the Lord's judgment to decide whether an individual, doesn't matter if they're Jewish or not Jewish, Gentile, has adhered to the commandments that are set upon him. So we admit that there's 2 different systems of laws for humanity. There's the system of laws for the nations, the goyim, as they're called in ancient Hebrew, and there's a system of laws for the Jews, which is called the halacha. The Talmud is part of it. It's not the entire law. And a lot of those laws are not really as applicable to modern times. In fact, a lot of them are agricultural and apply only to the land of Israel. So, when you're learning it, often you're learning theory and ideas that would only be applicable if the Messiah would come back. So, for those of you that are new to this, I do cough all the time, so this is not necessarily something new, and I don't have emphysema, so don't even ask. So what's the main difference in this case between the Jewish approach to religious law as opposed to the Gentile or the Islamic approach to religious law? We don't believe in enforcing our halacha on people that are not Jewish because in fact there are things that Jews need from Gentiles in order to be able to function as Jews, so that you know, and they're for example, on the Passover holiday, we need to sell all of our bread and other products that are not kosher for Passover to a Gentile, to a non-Jew. So those are things that are not invasive. If you can't, you just have to find somebody to do it. You don't have to force people to buy it. And in fact, it's a reversed transaction, so it's really a temporary transaction. There is and you know, if anybody wants to bring up a different issue that I've missed, that maybe they're saying, you know, you're wrong, Ramon. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. I know this thing that people are forced to do. Then go ahead, send it to me. But I can tell you that the difference between, so Sharia law, what does that mean? It is typically enforced, first of all, in a lot of these countries over the Muslim community, but eventually it is designed to be enforced over the entire realm of the community, meaning everybody that lives there. That's why you would see, for example, videos like this.
So, do you feel that you are British?
I identify myself as a Muslim. If I was born in a stable, you know, I'm not going to be a horse. If I was born in Nazi Germany, I'm not going to be a Nazi. I mean, this is just an island I was born in.
Rumesa and Chowdhury both live in East London, which is home to one of the largest Muslim populations in the UK. In one part of town, Rumesa and his associates have set up so-called Sharia patrols to go out and discourage behavior that they deem un-Islamic. On this night, they stopped to talk to a couple of non-Muslim men who were in a park drinking beer, which is forbidden under Islam.
So we're just reminding the community about staying safe. In this area, there's sort of gambling.
You see, if this was to happen in a Jewish community, even in the hyper-Orthodox Jewish communities, and they were to discover that these people are not Jewish, they would basically leave them be. Now, there are communities overseas and in small areas of the country where there are things that are, you know, I wouldn't say they even approach this level of you know, disrespect and intrusion. You know, there's the modesty patrols in some parts of Jerusalem or whatever, which, you know, to be honest with you, I think that they do more damage than they accomplish anything. They actually are an embarrassment, and I think that they drive people away from the religion more than they save them, or you know, attract them to the religion. That's not something that we believe in Judaism. So, you know, this is 60 Minutes from looks like 2015. So and people are denying nowadays that there is a such thing as Sharia patrols. Yes, there are Sharia patrols, not just in ISIS-held areas, but in places like London and Manchester and Birmingham in England, and they firmly believe that you have to follow their rules even if you don't even know what Sharia is. So basically, you think that you've grown up in your own country, let's say the United Kingdom or France, or let's say Sweden. Let's even throw in Detroit, right? Yesterday, in fact, a Hezbollah operative was allegedly caught in Detroit, or a Hezbollah operative resident to Detroit was caught in New York City. You know, you're not going to hear people protesting that. These Jewish groups would have been directly targeted by a group like that. And they've destroyed Jewish buildings in Argentina twice. You know, one time it was an Israeli embassy. So let's say that doesn't count. But so they destroyed the AMIA building. I think it's the Asociación Mutual Israelita de Argentina. So the Argentine Israelite Mutual Association. They destroyed that, I think, in 1993 or something. It was a major terrorist attack of the time. Nobody really talks about it because, you know, people don't even talk about 9/11 anymore. So why even talk about that? So the the person you see here, this bald guy who's culturally appropriating white people, apparently, because technically he's a person of color, is Jonathan Greenblatt, and he is an Obamacrat. And for those of you that are interested, including my friend, let's keep calling you Juan, what happened at the end of the Obama administration, and if you want, you can message me for more information, is that Obama and his supporters basically sent their plants to take over a lot of quote-unquote civil rights organizations. One of them was the Anne Frank Center, by the way, taken over by a couple of gay rights activists. They are extremely anti-Trump, but they have almost no footprint beyond that. One of them was ADL, and Jonathan Greenblatt had actually worked for the Obama administration before. Another person was Obama's deputy national security advisor, Ben Rhodes, who was basically appointed to a seat on the National Holocaust Memorial Council. And he's one of the people who helped spin the Iran nuclear deal, which is now being revealed to have been a major scam that the Obama administration has basically funneled money to a country that is funding terrorism to murder Jews and other people, all because he wanted to have a foreign policy accomplishment to his name. So to answer your question, I know it's taken almost a half hour now, Juan. Yes, we have a major problem. We've been taken over by plants, by people that they're not out to look after the interests of people that are in the community, and for that matter, not for people that their neighbors either. They're out there to look for the interests of, you know, the same clique of people that have protected the Obama administration and the Clintons, for that matter, and even the mainstream Republicans. They're on their side. They're not on my side. So I've said to people before, if you're a Jewish person listening to this, don't support mainstream organizations. Just take part in religious services. And you don't even have to form an alternative organization. I think that it's better for us to be active with, you know, people of like minds with whatever viewpoints that they have. You know, I meet people all the time that, you know, they might be, for example, you know, Filipino, Irish, American, whatever, Chinese, not even from America, don't even live here, that they have the same viewpoints as us. They believe in their own traditions. You know, I have no problem with a Chinese person following Chinese traditional practices. I have a problem with Chinese communism because it has destroyed a lot of those traditional practices and would destroy mine if it was implemented in my country. So anyway, that's it. You know, the anti-Sharia marches, we're going to see these poser groups continue to oppose them. And we have to refute them and go out and tell them, fuck you. You don't represent me, and you don't represent anybody else that I know. And I'd appreciate it if you shut the fuck up and let people just say whatever they want. This is Ramon, Bold Like a Leopard. Like this video, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'll try to post as many of the links as possible.